Gotta love it. How y'all doing? I keep dreaming if only Banks and Jenkins moves worked out. Yeah, that's what's so funny about the Banks thing, right? The Banks issue is such a kind of downer because of the fact that bringing him in happens after they make the decision, or maybe because of the decision to move Elton Jenkins. And that was just such an absolute rug pull of their own making, And I understand the idea of wanting Elton to play center, even though he had been playing very well at guard. Given how inconsistent Josh Myers had been, the way they they weren't able to kind of, uh, have a suitable replacement ready to go via the draft. I don't mind the idea, on paper, but man, the way it just did not materialize, and Elton really did not ever grow into that role in any kind of real effective, consistent way. It's tough. It's real tough. It sucks. And then to compound that issue with the signing of Aaron Banks to a pretty significant contract, to the point that even though he was very inconsistent this year and certainly not what they had hoped he would be, I don't see them letting him go. I don't see them moving on from him. I think the hope's got to be he doesn't get hurt the first day pads come on, and he's able to hit the ground running a lot better than he was this season. That would be my guess. Don Vito, what's up? Would you say the longer this goes, the less likely there's going to be an extension? No, I would not. In fact, pretty much the opposite. LaFleur McDaniel reunion, Fausti, I doubt it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but McDaniel's looking at OC spots where he can call plays, and I can't imagine that's going to be given to him by LaFleur. Now, never say never, but yeah, I think Detroit's a lot more likely than Green Bay. Unfortunately, because I do think McDaniel he's talented. Jake, what's going on, brother? Get Raheem or Gannon, DC. Axe Bisaccia, get a better special teams coach, then make DC associate head coach. Matt has his go-to, and we get quality coaches that already did head coach. Go Pack, go. I love your thinking, man. I do think Raheem's got to be a possibility if Hafley ends up getting a head coaching job. And that's the thing. There's a ways to go here for some of these dominoes to fall before they're even officially looking for a defensive coordinator. So I like the idea, and I know obviously Raheem and LaFleur have a long history together. They know each other very well, and I do think Raheem is a good defensive mind and could be a great coordinator in Green Bay. But I think we're a ways away from getting to that point just because of the things that you have yet to play out. Keith, what's going on, man? No matter what happens, I still back the Pack. Go Pack, go. That's a healthy attitude right there, sir. I like it. What else we got here, folks? Bill, how are you? Thanks for checking out the stream on Facebook. Hi, Nags. Who's on your radar for DC and special teams coach? Well, we just talked about Raheem Morris, which I do think is a possibility. My dream would be Brian Flores, though I don't think that's going to happen. But, man, how phenomenal would it be? And look, he is taking DC interviews. He interviews or is interviewing with the Commanders for their defensive coordinator position. He's also getting head coaching interviews. I know he interviewed with Baltimore. But, man, it would be just absolutely outstanding to steal him from Minneapolis, from the Vikings, and have him come to Green Bay and wreak his pressure havoc on not just NFC North opponents, but the rest of the NFL with the Packers, with Micah Parsons. Oh, baby, that would be fun to watch. You get Xavier McKinney in the Harrison Smith role. Let's cook, man. That would be a ton of fun. Again, this is my dream wish list. Never going to happen, but I would love that. What's up here, boys and girls? The Florida Keys. What's up, Chet? How are you? Juan Garcia, what's going on now? I know it's early, but feel like Hafley would be hired by now. He's not even done with his interviews yet. He just got another request to go interview with the Steelers. It's going to be a while. Y'all think all this shit happens like instantly. I get we watched Harbaugh land here in New York, and within a day he's hired, but that's a very particular context, right? A very different opportunity and a very different background for the coach. Um, it's going to be a bit yet. I suspect, like I said earlier at the start, I think we're going to see the LaFleur announcement or the kind of rumblings of an announcement come to life here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Some of that will probably also include Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball, maybe something about the power structure, though I wouldn't say it was for certain. Um, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and nothing just happens the blink of an eye. It feels like the internet has gotten or is so impatient, you know. Tom, do I think LaFleur wants Hafley back? Yes, I 1 billion% do, but it is going to be down to whether he gets a job or not. And I think there's a decent chance he does. And I know LaFleur said kind of point blank that he expects Hafley to get one of these coaching openings. But I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I do think he's certainly getting a lot of bites at the apple when it comes to interviewing, but that doesn't automatically mean he's going to get one of the gigs. You know, last year, what did he have? One interview with the Jets, right? This year, he's got 5 or 6. But man, there have been guys who've had to go 3, 4 years of the interview circuit before landing the job. I'm crossing my fingers that that's what happens with Hafley. But yeah, it only takes one owner wanting to pull the trigger, really liking him in the interview process and saying, "Yep, that's my guy." We'll see. Don Vito, how are you, man? Never met Matt LaFleur. Talking on my ass here, but Matt LaFleur not giving up play calling seems like such an ego thing. I like Eric Yarber for OC, the Rams wide receiver coach, because of your deep, intimate knowledge of how Eric Yarber would call plays. I'm kidding, obviously, but it's just funny. It's always the unknown or the thrill of the chase, the grass being greener somewhere else, right? It's not an ego thing. It's what he does. It's who he is. Most offensive coaches are like that. And usually when guys give up play calling, it doesn't turn out well. Not every time. Obviously, I think Dan Campbell did pretty well this year after taking over play calling from his offensive coordinator. But more often than not, when these guys, end up as head coaches, offensive play caller, etc., that is their identity. It's not so much of it's an ego, but you know, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. I don't begrudge him or any of those guys. Neil, what's up? Why do the Packers hold on to crap kickers for so long? Because it is very hard to determine whether they are crap or just having a bad day. I mean, ultimately, there are certainly good kickers that have had bad stretches. Look no further than Mason Crosby. I think it was 2012. But they've had Mason Crosby for how long? How many years was he in Green Bay? Kind of warps your perception a little bit. You've got to find the kicker, and that's tough, as the Packers found out last summer or 2 summers ago when they had that competition. So I don't know, man. It's hard for me to say that they've held on to McManus for, quote, too long. He had a good year last year, and he had an outstanding training camp. And mostly when he was healthy, he had a good season this year. But yeah, he did pick the worst possible fucking time to have his worst game. What else we got here? Evan, what's going on, man? If Hafley leaves, I think the defensive coordinator position becomes sought after. Michael will make whoever look even better than they are. I think that's a very, very good observation. I do not doubt for a moment that would become a pretty sweet, attractive landing spot for anybody with ambition to be calling plays on the defensive side of the ball in the league, as probably, hopefully, a springboard to a potential head coaching gig. We talk about it a lot on the offensive side of the ball when defensive guys get hired. I mean, look no further than McDonald in Seattle. Clint Kubiak's already getting head coaching opportunities. He's going on interviews for head coaching jobs. He's called plays for Seattle for 1 year. And I know he had, the first kind of flush of success down in New Orleans before everybody got hurt. But, the old adage is like, or the kind of joke, the running joke is that you get that offensive coordinator, he becomes a hot commodity and he's out the door. At least on the defensive side of the ball, you can hopefully hold on to him for a little bit longer. And yeah, Micah should make it a very attractive proposition for any defensive coach. Uh, are you calling Mason Crosby a crappy kicker? What? No. I'm saying he's warped perception. No, Mason Crosby is an all-time scoring leader. Why is the internet so intent on making everything like negative, regardless of what's said? Y'all just come to it in a negative light. No, no one's calling Mason Crosby a crappy kicker. Far from it. In fact, the exact opposite. Well, this is an interesting question. Is it an instruction from Matt LaFleur, or does Love just have a hesitancy to run the ball like Willis does? Earlier in his career, it seemed like Rodgers was more apt to try and get some yards when possible. It's interesting. I've seen a lot of this in kind of the wake of this game on Saturday, and I don't know what people want out of Jordan Love. He played a phenomenal game. Were there an opportunity or two for him to run? Maybe, possibly. But man, in that second half in particular, they were constricting the pocket. That's why he had the 2 grounding calls that he had. We're in a whole lot of places for him to run. The guy just throws 4 touchdowns, 300 plus yards, no interceptions, and then has them in position to win the game if receivers just catch the ball. Like, I understand it. Like, yeah, are there opportunities at times for him to maybe run? Sure, but he's a quarterback. You want to play from the pocket. You want to beat the team you're facing with your arm. That's what the position is. And the more you do that with regularity, the better you're going to be long term. But yeah, is it a possible instruction? Maybe after a year like they saw in 2024, where he legit gets injured week 1 and then he's hurt again because he's compensating and putting himself. They don't want him putting himself in harm's way because they went through everything they went through in 2024. Is that a possibility? Yeah, maybe, but I want a quarterback who wants to operate from the pocket. I want a quarterback who wants to win the game with his arm, because long term, those are the best quarterbacks. And Jordan Love right now is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Market 0. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Menace, how you doing? Do you think that Goody hasn't been talked about enough regarding the results the last 2 years, and maybe it's been too much on Matt LaFleur? Seems to be a disconnect in the team Goot wants to field and Matt wants to coach. Menace, it's a more than fair question. It's really hard to say without knowing what their conversations are. And LaFleur has gone out of his way a couple of times now to mention how they are in constant communication. They do talk daily, not just with Goody, but also with John Eric Sullivan, who's now in Miami, Milt Hendrickson, the top lieutenants on the personnel side. But yeah, I do think it's more than fair, especially when you're being asked to win games with Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine at corner. It's one thing to do that when you trade for Micah Parsons. The idea there, obvious. Okay, we're going to get quick pressure. Those guys aren't going to have to hold up as much. But you saw Hafley get into a horrible, damned if you do, damned if you don't situation on Saturday against the Bears, and kind of down the stretch since the Denver game, where you want to send pressure because you can't get home with 4. But then when you do that, you can't hold up on the back end. So you're playing dial-up kind of defense, trying to hope you get into something that takes advantage of whatever the opponent is calling. And of course, you do have some idea of tendencies going off, data and stuff like that. But man, it's hard to say with any certainty that, or it's not hard. It's pretty clear to say that, yeah, the Goody is certain. There's certain situations and certain personnel groups and parts of the depth chart that maybe came up short. But I'll also kind of caution on it's this terrible roster or whatever. Man, I've never seen something like we saw down the stretch this season in 2025. I mean, as far as what do they have, like 20 transactions one week and then another 23 the next week or what have you? That is not normal. They really did get decimated by injuries this year. And for the most part, at least had a cobbled together roster with a lot of depth stepping up that kept them in most of these games. I mean, look no further than teams like, the Jets or, the Browns or what have you down the stretch, who it was very clear they're mailing it in, except for the Browns who wanted to get, Myles Garrett the sack record. But, I think the Packers showed they had a lot of depth this season. It's just the problem being their frontline guys just kept going down. But that does, yeah, to long-winded way of saying that doesn't mean that Goody's off the hook, as it were, right? And it is frustrating when I gotta think it's frustrating when you're Brian Gutekunst and you make that pick in the first round for Matthew Golden, and then you go through the entirety of the season and see him barely get utilized until he scores a monster touchdown in the playoff game that should have won it for you. Only to watch your coach and that staff kind of melt down, right, and throw it away. I think both sides have some gripes. Let's put it that way. Mason Crosby, special team coach. Aaron, what's funny is I saw a headline on Facebook that, he wanted to be a special teams coach or was thinking about it, but it was on Facebook. You can't trust anything on Facebook. So I don't think that's going to be the case. What else we got here, folks? Cheeto, what's going on, brother? Pretty easy ad for DCs. We have Micah and others. I mean, yeah, you want to talk about a very attractive piece. Absolutely, absolutely true. Bobby Womack, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate you, man. Juan Garcia, thank you, sir. When do you think J-Lo peak stretch begins? Also, a la Rodgers 2014 to 2021, I'm hoping. I have no idea if he'll ever reach those heights. I highly doubt it. Rodgers was one of one. That said, I do think Jordan Love starts to enter his prime next season. Like, he has come along these last 3 years, and he's playing some phenomenal football. And one more year in the system, group around him is very talented as far as the pass catchers, clearly been setting up. The one big thing that we all know has to happen is the offensive line needs to get fixed. But outside of that, he's ready to ball out and be one of the best QBs in this league for the next 4 or 5 years. What else we got? Menace. I can't believe I'm saying this. We should bring back Stokes. I mean, it does sound insane, but he actually had a decent year with the Raiders. And that's on a team where nobody had a decent year. But you're not wrong, man. He played well. I'd be very surprised if they went that route, but yeah, there's little doubt that he played much better than I think most people expected him to, right? No doubt about it. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to get going. Can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Sorry about the audio snafu at the start. Thanks for sticking with me. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack, go.